Some of them may be more dramatic than others the first couple days. So they may look dying, but don't water them again. I added the perfect amount to right now. Now I gotta give them a few days.
It was like when you started molding my garlic, grounded the crap out of them. It was like freaking New Orleans.
Did you just say that I Katrina'd your garlic pieces?
You did, bro. So I watched something and you're gonna like this.
With your eyes?
Yeah.
Better. Hey everybody, welcome in. It is March 18th. Don't worry, people. I'm in a better mood today. No negative Nancying it in the introduction today. Why are you zooming in and out? Anyways, you're here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. Today is March 18th. We are officially hitting the latter half or the second half of our week 3, the turn. We're all about the tested hero and the month of trials and destiny. Today is all about the atonement. Okay, so our theme is making amends. You're going to see 4 stories today. I will tell you that there is at least one that doesn't get the opportunity to make amends. So pay attention to what lines kind of we cross in that as well. But our 4 stories come from Greek, Polynesian, Hebrew, and Japanese folklore. So we will see you right after these 4 stories about the atonement. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1, Heracles and the Weight of the 12 Labors. Before he became a legend of strength, Heracles, also known as Hercules, was a man burdened by a terrible truth. He had committed an unforgivable act. Driven into madness by the goddess Hera, who had long despised him, Heracles lost control of his mind. In that frenzy, he killed his own wife and children. When clarity returned, the horror of what he had done settled over him like a shadow that would never lift. Strength could not undo it. Victory could not erase it. And so Heracles sought guidance from the sacred oracle at Delphi. The oracle did not offer comfort. It offered a path. He was told he must serve King Eurystheus and complete a series of impossible tasks. They would later be known as the 12 labors. They were not given as punishment alone, they were given as atonement. The first labor took him into the wild lands, Nemea, where a monstrous lion terrorized the region. Its skin could not be pierced by blade or arrow. Heracles confronted it with his bare hands. He wrestled the creature, enduring its claws and strength until he finally subdued it. Moving forward, he wore its skin as armor. Each labor carried him further into danger. He battled the Lernaean Hydra, a serpent whose head multiplied when cut. He captured the golden-horned Cyrenian hind, sacred to the goddess Artemis. He descended into the underworld to bring forth Cerberus, the 3-headed guardian of the dead. Each task tested more than his strength. They tested his endurance, his patience, and his willingness to face what he had become. These labors could not undo his past, but they reshaped his future. Through each trial, Heracles carried the weight of his guilt, not as something to escape, but as something to transform. The world began to see him not only as a warrior, but as a man who endured, who suffered, and who chose to continue. In time, his deeds elevated him beyond mortality. But the story was never simply about strength. It was about what a person does after they have fallen. For Heracles did not erase his guilt. He walked through it. And in doing so, he became something more than what he had been. Story 2, Maui and the Lesson of Humility. Among the islands of the Great Pacific, where the ocean stretches beyond the horizon and the winds carry stories between lands, there lived a demigod named Maui. Maui was known for his cleverness. He was a trickster, a hero, and a shapeshifter. He had slowed the sun, pulled islands from the sea, and brought fire to humanity. Where others saw limits, Maui saw opportunity. Where others accepted the world as it was, Maui sought to change it. Because of this, he became beloved. But he also became something else, proud. For Maui began to believe that there was nothing he could not overcome, not even death. In Polynesian tradition, death was not simply an ending. It was governed by a powerful goddess known Hine Nui Te Po, the great woman of night. She ruled the realm of the dead. All who lived would one day pass through her. But Maui was not willing to accept this. He decided that he would defeat death itself. If he could overcome Hine Nui Te Po, he believed humanity would become immortal. His plan was bold. He would enter her body while she slept and pass through her, reversing the process of birth. If he succeeded, death would be undone. Maui gathered companions to witness his feat. Among them were birds who watched with curiosity and unease. As night fell, they approached the palace where Hine Nui Te Po lay sleeping. Her form was immense, her presence filled with darkness. Her body shimmered with power, and her eyes glowed like embers even in rest. Now he transformed himself into a small creature. In some tellings, he became a worm, in others, a lizard. Quietly, he began his approach. The world seemed to hold his breath. The birds watched. The wind stilled. Everything depended on silence. Slowly, carefully, Maui entered the goddess. For a moment, it seemed he might succeed, but then something happened. One of the birds, unable to contain its amazement, began to laugh. In many versions of the story, the bird is a piwakawaka, also known as a fantail. Its laughter broke the silence. Hine Nui Te Po stirred, her eyes opened. In an instant, she realized what Maui was attempting. With immense power, she crushed him. The hero who had defied the sun and shaped the world was destroyed in a single moment. And with his death, mortality remained. Humans would continue to live and die. The attempt to conquer death had failed, but the story was never told as a tale of defeat alone. It was remembered as a lesson. Maui had achieved many great things, but in this moment, his confidence had crossed into arrogance. He had believed himself beyond the limits that governed all beings, and it was that belief that led to his end. In Polynesian cultures, Maui remains a beloved figure, a bringer of gifts, a changer of the world, but also a reminder that even the greatest heroes must recognize the boundaries of existence. For there are forces that cannot be overcome, only understood. And in that understanding, humility is born. Story 3, Jonah and the Path of Return. In the lands of the ancient Near East, where desert winds carried both prophecy and warning, there lived a man named Jonah. Jonah was a prophet. He was a man who heard the voice of God, Yahweh or Yahweh, and was expected to carry that voice into the world. One day, Jonah received a command. He was told to go to the great city of Nineveh, a powerful and feared capital of the Assyrian Empire. The people of Nineveh were known for their violence and corruption. Jonah was to deliver a message, a warning. The city must turn from its ways, or it would be destroyed. But Jonah did not want to go. He did not resist out of fear. He resisted out of anger. Nineveh was an enemy of his people. If the city repented, it might be spared. Jonah did not believe it deserved mercy. So instead of obeying, Jonah fled. He traveled to the port of Joppa and boarded a ship heading in the opposite direction, toward Tarshish. He thought he could escape the call placed upon him, but the sea is not a place where one can hide from truth. Soon after the ship set sail, a violent storm arose. Waves crashed against the vessel. The sailors, fearing for their lives, threw cargo into the sea to lighten the load. They prayed to their gods, but the storm did not cease. Jonah, meanwhile, had gone below deck and fallen into a deep sleep. The captain found him and demanded that he pray as well. The sailors cast lots to determine who was responsible for the storm. The lot fell to Jonah. They questioned him. He told them the truth. "I am fleeing from my God," he said. The sailors were afraid. "What must we do to calm the sea?" they asked. Jonah answered with a heavy understanding. "Throw me into the water." At first, the sailors refused. They tried to row back to shore, but the storm only grew stronger. Finally, with great reluctance, they cast Jonah into the sea. At once, the waters calmed, but Jonah did not drown. Instead, he was swallowed by a great fish. For 3 days and 3 nights, Jonah remained in the darkness of its belly. There, in the stillness, he faced himself. He could no longer run. He could no longer justify his refusal. In that place of isolation, Jonah prayed. He acknowledged his resistance. He accepted the call he had tried to escape. At last, the fish released him onto dry land. Jonah rose, and this time, he went to Nineveh. He walked through the city, delivering the message he had been given. 40 days more, he proclaimed, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. But something unexpected happened. The people listened. From the king to the common citizen, they turned away from their wrongdoing. They fasted. They humbled themselves, and the city was spared. This outcome did not bring Jonah peace. Instead, it revealed something deeper. Jonah realized that the lesson had not only been for Nineveh, it had been for him. He had wanted judgment, but he was confronted with mercy. He had resisted his purpose, but in returning to it, he found clarity. The journey through the storm and the darkness had not been punishment alone. It had been transformation. For atonement is not always about correcting others. Sometimes it is about confronting the truth within oneself. Story 4. Tsukuyomi and the Breaking of Harmony. In the earliest age of the world, when the heavens and the earth were still newly formed, the balance of existence was held between divine beings known as the kami. Among these were 3 siblings born from the creator god Izanagi: Amaterasu, the radiant goddess of the sun; Tsukuyomi, the quiet god of the moon; and Sosanoa, the storm bringer. Each governed a different aspect of the world. Together, they maintained harmony. Amaterasu illuminated the heaven with steady light. Tsukuyomi ruled the night with calm and order. Their movements were once synchronized, and the world existed in perfect balance between day and night. At one time, Tsukuyomi was sent as a representative of Amaterasu to attend a sacred feast hosted by the food goddess, Ugemochi. Ugemochi was a provider, a goddess of nourishment and sustenance. When Tsukuyomi arrived, she prepared a grand offering, but the way she created the food disturbed him. From her mouth, she produced rice. From her nose came fish. From other parts of her body came game and grains. To her, this was a sacred act, a demonstration of her divine ability to sustain life. But to Tsukuyomi, it appeared impure, unclean. He did not see the intention. He only saw the form. Anger rose within him. Without pause, without seeking understanding, Tsukuyomi drew his weapon and struck her down. Ugemochi fell. The goddess who nourished the world was gone. When Amaterasu learned what had happened, she was overcome with grief and outrage. This was not simply an act of violence. It was a violation of harmony. Tsukuyomi had destroyed something sacred because he failed to understand it. In response, Amaterasu made a decision that would reshape the cosmos. She refused to ever look upon Tsukuyomi again. She turned away from him, and from that moment forward, the sun and the moon were separated. They no longer shared the sky. Day and night became divided. Where once there had been unity, there was now distance. Tsukuyomi was cast into isolation. He remained the ruler of the night, but he no longer walked beside his sister. No reconciliation followed. No restoration came. The separation endured. In this story, Tsukuyomi does not seek forgiveness. He does not undo what was done. Instead, he exists within the consequence of his action. The world itself carries the result. Day and night never meet. Light and shadow remain apart. The balance of existence continues, but it is no longer whole. And within that fracture lies the lesson, for not all actions can be undone. Some choices create distances that cannot be closed. Some moments divide what was once united. And in those moments, understanding arrives too late, but it arrives nonetheless. For Tsukuyomi's story is not remembered only as a tale of destruction. It is remembered as a moment of realization, a moment when judgment, made too quickly, led to irreversible loss. And from that loss came awareness, not through restoration, but through consequence. Everybody, welcome back in. Today is March 18th. Hope you enjoyed those 4 stories on the atonement. So the theme of today is all about making amends, as you saw in those 4 stories. Not all of them have the chance. Not all of them have the chance to make
Yeah.
amends. They had the chance to learn humility early on and didn't accept it. Didn't accept that they had boundaries or limits. But that isn't the case with the first story. So our lesson is that guilt transforms into humility. So our
Yeah.
guilt transforms into humility. And the Greek story, the Heracles story, right away, he went through these 12 labors. And of course, we're not going to go into detail because that is a long story, all of them.
Yeah.
But he went into these 12 labors to atone. Not correct. He wasn't offered his wife or children. It was just a lot of it felt like it was to pretty much avoid just living with that and taking that with him into the other life, into the other, the afterlife. So taking that with him wasn't an option. But also, it's more than that. It's what he did, you know? He was under this like frenzied madness because of Hera, another person in power who's
Yeah.
upset with someone else, but because that person is also in power, they go after people that can't do anything to them, right? She's upset with Zeus. She's upset with the mother of Heracles, but it doesn't matter. She goes after him
Yeah.
and she takes away his wife and child, right? And I can't remember if it was just 1 or 2. And I can't remember if he is the story where um, he like throws one into the sea and the other one he slams on the ground.
Jeez.
There is someone that was their punishment as well. So I'm not sure if that was Heracles or not. And we'll get into that. But yeah, it wasn't just like he killed them peacefully. She had him go mad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And some of the
It's gnarly. Well,
yeah.
I mean, if I were him, and I mean, she's probably made him remember it, right? So, yeah, I would go do these 12 trials, not even thinking about it. Like, because, yeah, I'm going to go fight things that are not supposed to be killed because then cool, then I die. Like, honestly, that's with loss. I mean, not to that extreme, but I've had loss to where, I mean, oof, you are just not, you're not making the best decisions when you're really in your grief, I think.
And I did think that they emphasized that I don't know, the way that it read this version, it almost emphasized or hinted that he could have taken his own life, with that guilt, with that grief.
Yeah.
That it kind of hinted that that was on the table, but instead he chose to do what others couldn't. So he used his strength to serve others. These 12 labors were to help serve others. And of course, Hera's involved in those as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Which is
Again,
like how to ugh,
yeah, it's just what we see today.
you're
Hera's like
going
the
to get
epitome.
yours, Hera.
Yeah. But the important note is that atonement does not erase the past. It transforms how we carry it. It doesn't ever say Heracles was finally okay with what he did.
No, yeah.
It never once says that. Just the way he carried it, he was servicing others. That lightened his burden. So by serving others and no longer focusing on me, no longer focusing on myself, because whether I believe I deserve that happiness or not, that's a feeling some of us get. I don't deserve the happiness anyways, but I have gifts to offer. We all do have things to offer. And I think his story, it's kind of like any story of when we bury ourselves in our work to avoid
Mm-hmm.
grief. And I like how he doesn't, and of this story, I haven't seen all of them, but I like how he doesn't argue. Like he's looking for a way to atone. He's not ever blaming Hera, right? He's doing his job and doing the best that he can. And yeah, it did make him immortal, but it never would have happened had that terrible thing he had done. So both will always be remembered
Yeah.
when it comes to Heracles. But then we get adaptations like the cartoon where he does the labors before he meets her. As it is, I think her name is Megara that's killed. So it's again just how in today's day and age we do nice things up quite a bit before we release them.
Yeah.
But of course, it's a Disney movie. You don't want it. You want people to enjoy it. So you don't want it to be like that.
Yeah, you want it to be for the family, the kids, for everybody to, yeah. You put it the other way, and it's like, you can make it a Marvel movie, I guess, but not
There
even
is a
that.
live action Heracles. I've never seen it, but I think The Rock plays
Really?
Heracles. I believe it's him because he's massive.
Well,
And
yeah.
Heracles was a massive
No,
being.
I just didn't know there was a live action Hercules movie.
I've never seen it either. And it's Heracles.
Yes.
But then again, maybe Troy got the upper hand and they're like, you know what we're going to do is we're going to change one of your heroes to Hercules because that's how we pronounce it as Romans because Hercules is the Roman, version of it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Story 2 is the story of Maui. I forgot about this story. Um, and of course, it obviously didn't put as much of the gore in it, and that's kind of why I forgot because it's a lot more
Yeah.
detailed when you read. Obviously, most of these stories are a lot more detailed when you dive into them. Maui, though, man, when I saw Moana and I knew Maui's end, I was so curious if Disney was ever going to cross that line. Maybe not with the first story, but when the second one came out, I was kind of like, ooh, are they potentially going to add in some of the ways Maui had to be humbled and face humility? And unfortunately, Maui's story of this, he faces humility without ever being able to reconcile for what he did. He's just
Yeah,
someone
you
that
just get scooshed.
it's not only that he's trying to do something that's impossible, right? He's trying to reverse death. It's also an excellent story again. I think it was kind of brought up in a previous episode of a woman being violated because the more you actually read that story, he does go through her reproductive organs. That's how he enters her. And maybe I've read that story wrong. I have it in that big, thick mythology book I can show you later, I'm pretty sure. But it's also a direct story of when some lines are crossed,
Yeah.
they cannot be uncrossed. It wasn't
Mm-mm.
just a reversal of birth. It was that that whole thing was inappropriate.
Well, yeah, it's a violation for sure.
Mhm. And he did it, and we were talking about, in the break, how one of the previous stories we heard about the sun and the moon, the brother who ends up becoming the moon is attempting to do that as well to
Mm,
his sister, but they both do it under the cover of complete darkness while they're asleep.
right.
So that's why I brought it up because, yeah, obviously, if he entered through there, it's obviously a story that's relating to that. But what it also is that violation under the cover of night in a place that you feel you should be able to put your guard down,
Yeah.
right? Where you lay your head at night. So it was crossing so many boundaries, so many. And he brought people to watch, not people, but the birds. He brought witnesses.
Yeah. How arrogant.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot to unpack with this story, and I don't want to dive too far into that stuff because you could just continue to go.
Oh, yeah, that could be an all day thing because
Mhm.
obviously, with the multiple different wrongdoings within that to unpack would just be
Right. And so Maui teaches us that, and I hope I'm getting this right, it's all we're doing in this show is kind of
to
interpreting through
you. How
our
do
way.
you interpret it?
Right.
Right. You interpret it
Maui
as in,
Maui shows us that even if we do a life full of good, a life full of standing up for the community, our people, our family, doing these things, certain actions are unbelievably inappropriate,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's where we have the checks and balances for people.
Right.
Because if there aren't and we feel like we can do anything, and I do not mean we can do anything in the sense of chasing our dreams or something. We can do things without consequence.
Yeah.
We can do things and almost make a sport of it by having people come witness. If it had to be so quiet, why'd you bring witnesses? Your own arrogance led to your demise on so many levels. But I love how at the end of this, yeah, it sucks that he doesn't get to atone for that. But I'm saying that on this playing field, he didn't atone for it. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean he didn't have a story or
Right.
go into the afterlife and atone. But it wasn't even a second thought to her. She realized what he was doing and she just crushed him.
Said nope.
Okay, you want to be there, then you'll die there. Like you can rot in my body because it'll continue to grow. Like you weren't even there. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
dust. And that doesn't take away what he did. But ooh, she got to just
Yeah.
take control right away. You're going to come into where I sleep
Yep.
when I'm feeling safe. You're arrogant. And I feel like that just excites me. Like when I think of people that someone comes in to invade or attack them. And I'm thinking about the video. I don't know if you saw it. The video where the girl was in the gym and that guy's trying to get to her. And you see her on the footage. They
Mm,
posted it on the news. Like you
really.
see footage where she's like obviously had some self-defense. She didn't fight, but she was looking to create distance, kept creating distance, and
Mm-hmm.
then was looking for ways out. Like it was pretty impressive. But again, I'm pretty sure it was at night when you're feeling like just going to go work out,
Right.
right? And then this is what's going to
Dude.
happen. And that's what I can't remember. I almost want to say she did start fighting at one point, but I don't want to speculate. But it was just very impressive because that's what it was on the news of, like this girl of no, just having a few things, even when you're afraid, kind of remaining calm or
Right.
calm enough.
Right. Instead of freaking out, that you can make a good decision. The
Right.
worst thing a person can do in a bad situation is freak out, because more bad stuff will happen.
And I think also too, and I saw this in a couple things. Of course, my favorite rendition of it was on a TV show because it wasn't real. And that's kind of but also, even if you're scared to death, you like pretend like you're not. You almost try to convince yourself because that's what they live off of. That is
Mm-hmm.
what predators live off of. Most of the time, it's never about like
Yeah, you
the
start
action,
talking it
it's
up,
about
being like, "It's about time."
yeah.
Like they're gonna be like, "The what?"
Yeah, even if
And it
he's
might not be. It still might not be okay, but it might not be as bad. I
right, and
don't
that doesn't
know.
mean
I
that
don't.
that's the stance to take over running if you can. That's just
Yeah,
my
but
opinion is that if you conflict with what they're expecting you to react with,
yeah.
and you're like, "All right," it kind of shakes you because it takes that little bit of excitement out. That's not for everyone. Some like that
Mm,
little bit of a challenge. But either way, the happy part of Maui's story is that he I think got what he deserved.
yeah, for sure.
So story 3, Jonah, this was the story that I really liked, this telling of it today. We've
Yeah.
seen Jonah a couple times, but I love when it stated, and I'll read the exact thing. This outcome did not bring Jonah peace. Instead, it revealed something deeper. Jonah realized that the lesson had not only been for Nineveh, it had been for him. It reminds me of the shack when she's like, "You want the judgment cave? You want to judge?
Hmm.
Okay, then judge.
Yep.
You think you know what it's like? Like, in all reality, was would God have destroyed Nineveh and Jonah had Jonah not gone? Was that really for him to also atone? And this story today said, yeah, right?
Yeah, because if he had not gone back, I mean, they instantly were like, "All right," but they needed to be told to knock it off.
And I think he needed to be shook up to walk in there because, like I said, it wasn't about fear. It was, I we versus they, I versus you. And that's what it was. These are
Yeah.
enemies to my people. Another thing I noticed, it didn't say an enemy to him necessarily, it said to his people. That also reminded me of how sometimes we don't care people's character. We just go with our groups and think that we're just right because we're in our group, or, well, this is the way I want to live, even if we're not always right. But then we actively support people that we voice our opinions that we're against, like their actions,
Yeah.
you know? And this, I mean, Jonah, all right, you think you're going to die from the sea? Think again, because
Mm-mm.
how it makes me want to throw up. I just had like a mini panic attack, actually, thinking about it makes my stomach hurt, guys. Thinking about that whale approaching in that dark water. Okay, when you do the Jaws thing, I'm no longer scared. I'm scared of those big chungus whales. A whale is just going to have me in his mouth chilling for 3 days. And
Yeah, but a shark will not chill in your mouth, or you'll not chill in a shark mouth. The chill part will be like chill part of your leg over here, chill part of your leg over here, chill
people
part of your leg over there.
survive in shark infested waters. And yeah, of course, they usually survive.
Yeah, but we're talking
With
about in the
whales.
mouth. A whale spits you out every time.
At least I won't be having
Whales
an
are
anxiety
quitters.
attack.
Whales are quitters. Sharks are not.
Anything, no, 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 don't throw me in the sea. I wouldn't have said that. No, throw my body into the sea is more like it. Absolutely not.
My soul is
My
not.
soul will exit the body because if I'm seeing any type of whale out there,
Instant heart attack.
yeah, I'd be peeing in the water.
Well,
Hopefully
okay.
they don't like the taste of pee because that's all that's protecting me is extra salt around this body. No, I just picture those like terrifying, like eerie scenes where it's dark. It's really dark. You can't see anything within like 5 feet in front of you. But then it's just like this massive eerie body.
You just hear the.
And it's probably talking, just like, yeah, dude, God, I got it. I got him right here, God. He's right here. I'm gonna eat him. I'm gonna swallow him up. Beat him up, beat him up, beat him up, beat him up.
For me, eat him.
They're like, dude, John. No. I probably would have had a heart attack right then and there. But again, that's just because it's because I just don't understand them, right? Which leads us into our fourth story, being afraid of something and acting out on something that we're
Yeah.
afraid of. Now, do I think that if I panicked and punched a whale, it would feel it? It probably maybe slap me down and I'd feel
And you
that.
would die. That would murder 1,000 times.
But I've heard that they have, and I've seen some videos that they have very gentle energies on them. And like when I've seen other people expressing that online, their fear of being in the water with whales, there were a number of, like, I'm guessing divers, people that are, biologists, marine biologists and stuff,
Mhm.
that were sharing that they really do have this calm. Yes, they're magnificent. And yes, have
I would
caution.
love to go dive with
But the
some
energy
whales.
of them.
That would be so cool.
I saw that ocean woman again on my
I want to
feed,
do it.
and she's
I
the one
love
that
to do it.
swims with sharks, and she teaches you how to swim with them.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to be certified and stuff, but she followed this 26 plus feet long great white, and then she kept following it, and it ended up being pregnant. But she'll swim like underneath them. She'll swim on the side of them and touch these great whites. She will teach
I've
you how
watched
to
her. Yeah,
push,
she's
how
cool.
to calmly push their nose,
Yeah, so they
and
don't
that just
bite you.
redirects them. But I've heard others say they're kind of just like puppies, like sharks really are. I'm not saying when they're with a bunch of blood and there's meat
If
or
there's
whatever.
blood, they don't think.
That's why you're not supposed to do that baiting thing on the cage dives. It's dangerous. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do that. At least from what I've looked into, there are some serious dangers with that.
Well, here's the thing, though. Danger to the shark, too.
No, that was part of it because they were
It's
coming
gotta be
in
the biggest thing, and
the
that's gotta
shield is
hurt.
going over their eyes, and some of them were getting stuck in the cages. Some of them were, yeah, no.
No, yeah, that's
And I didn't
sad.
realize how many animals got injured by those propellers on the boats and stuff. I thought it was just manatees, really, totally my arrogance. But obviously the orcas don't like it if they're flipping yachts out there.
Yeah.
Hence why. Yeah, I thought that they flipped several. That was several years ago that the orcas were retaliating against yacht owners.
Well, I would be like, because if I had a yacht, though, I'd be like stopping if I saw some orcas and be like, oh my gosh.
Did you ever see the video of the orca that was following the swimmer? So someone was swimming along the coast and stuff, and then there was an orca that started following them. And then it kind of started getting playful. Like it was inquiring and how they like swim underneath and kind of look and stuff. Like it was inquiring, but it was terrifying, obviously, for the person.
Yeah.
But then again, those animals can feel the vibration in the water. Like you see, people will say, it's totally safe to be afraid, but if you panic, that vibration gets pushed off and they're thinking pray,
Yeah.
pray. And I'm not specifically talking orcas, but I know that that was a thing with sharks. But it, like I said, it led into the fourth story of misunderstanding or just lack of understanding something and assuming that your opinion is the correct one.
Right.
And we act on them. Did this not scream how cultures treated each other throughout history?
Yeah.
I don't understand, so I have to get rid of.
Yeah. It's like, what? Go.
Except the thing with this one was, in this version, whatever, he doesn't ever give excuses or anything like that, or try to convince otherwise or try to apologize or anything. He just takes his consequence. He
He
bears it.
said it for what it was, what he thought it was at that time.
And it went, and I'm going to definitely pull more stories about this because what I took from part of this was that he acknowledged right away after the action was done that that was impulsive and it was wrong.
Yeah.
That's what this story kind of implied in my eyes, was that his realization happened when it was too late and it was right after he reacted.
It's almost like it makes you think of the Hercules story too, though. Like how after
Yeah, so it was
he did the
after,
deed, then he's like, "Oh my goodness, what?" Like it's the same.
right, blinded by this manipulator or blinded by our own mind, which is a manipulator. It manipulates us sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you harness that, it can be good. It could also be very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But it was another story of certain lines are crossed. They don't need your justification. They don't need your reasons why, your excuses. They don't need you to come apologize because when you break a plate and you apologize, that plate's still broken.
Right.
Right. Apologizing for taking the life of anything doesn't bring that life back.
No, this actually just reminds me of the story where every time this kid did something, his dad made him go out to one plank in the fence and pound a nail in it and left it. And then he'd do it every time, just kept going out, pounding holes in the fence. And then after a while, he had quite a few in there. And the kid's like, well, what if I do something good? And he's like, well, go pull a nail out every time you do something good. So he does. And he starts doing a bunch of good stuff. Then the dad goes by one day and he goes, hey, look at that fence. You got all those nails out, huh? Kid's happy. He did. Yeah, I got them all out. Cool. Look at that fence, though. It's full of holes. Just because you said you're sorry and pulled those out, the hole is still there. Your action, your energy that you transferred is still there in some way, somehow.
So it goes to show that material things, they can be fixed.
Yeah.
Those tangible things can be fixed. But it sounds like the lesson that was being taught is almost like the temperament. Your words put holes into people.
Mm.
And then when you go out and you try to repair them, yeah, maybe that pain, that knife that was stuck in them is gone, but there's still that cold kind of feeling.
It's like the saying, like, especially in a relationship. If you've ever been in a relationship where some words have been said where it is like over the line, and then it's like, you get back together because oh, didn't mean it. Every relationship that I've been in where those type of conversations or words were said, those relationships did not last.
It's kind of like bad mouthing your partner to your family. And they've done
Gosh.
something, and then all of a sudden you purge it out and take a step back if you're the one listening. and realize this isn't something that needs to be spread around. They probably need time to share that because it's a lot. And usually some of it is I'm emotional. So I'm going to share some things
Right.
that I saw through my perspective. And now I'm feeling they're a little bit more elevated because we do that. We story tell. But yeah, those words sometimes create holes
Dude.
in people. So, especially with your parents, though, like I was saying, when you tell, and in my life, my parents' unconditional love, and whether I saw it or not, but I did see that when I shared some things about people, they did not acknowledge the relationship, even if I dated them for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work. And I mean, they shed so many tears, probably just as much, if not even more than I did of my first relationship. Like to the point my dad was going to cross some lines because he was like, I cannot keep living like this. I don't know if you're going to be alive or dead, you know? And no, that wasn't the person trying to kill me. This is on me, and staying in that. And I truly believe looking back on it, and I've told you this before, and I've told you this is my kind of opinion. It was early on of your previous relationship as well as, sometimes two good people, good in our perspective, upstanding character, whatever, can be together and they become something very negative and toxic. That's kind of what my first relationship felt like. I didn't think I was a good person because it's constantly being told, that the other person was way better. He was way more popular than I was. But it just kind of, when I shared that information with my parents, some stuff, and I did not share all of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely did not share everything. And I don't think that we should. I absolutely would not burden my parents with some of the things that I've gone through
Yeah.
that were technically self-inflicted. But
They're in the past now. We can laugh about it, right?
yeah, no, and I do hope that that person's happy wherever
Mm-hmm.
they're at with whatever they're doing. And I'm not going to apologize because I spent that whole 4 years doing it.
Yeah.
So did they. I mean, I was upset about stupid stuff, but all I can feel moving forward is we didn't cross lines that couldn't come back from. We were able to go separate ways so that we can grow. It's not always the case.
Yeah.
Sometimes we allow our better judgment to completely leave, and out of fear or misunderstanding, we act. And yeah, I do think a lot of people act and then realize right after, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because look at how many crimes are committed out of a fit of passion. Isn't that like the most leading cause of crimes is passion?
I know it's part like it's
And I could be
written
using the
in
wrong word.
it's written into stuff. It's something passion. The passion is in it,
Right.
but like
When you're
it's a
almost so
form.
blind by your emotion.
Yeah, it's a form of a crime, and like there's moments where we as humans we react certain ways, and it's you just that's what your reaction is.
Yes.
You can't be blamed.
So I could edit and completely avoid what just happened, but I think that the people, need to know that we had a saboteur. She was told to stop picking on her older sister, okay,
Puppy, dog, little
who's just resting her head on this fuzzy blanket or
just
carpet.
snoozing.
And she chooses, do you want to explain to the people what you did? Look at the camera, Molly. That's the one you just did. She's not ready to atone for her actions, but she went up to that camera I'm looking at right now and she just absolutely blasted it off there and then sat there licking her legs, as cats do.
Like what?
You can't force people to atone for what they've done. You can only hope that they learn and grow and that they atone for what they've done. Our daily thread for today is that today we encounter the atonement. The moment when the weight of what has been done can no longer be avoided. Heracles carried the burden of his actions through the 12 labors, showing that redemption is built through endurance, not escape. Maui reached beyond his limits in defying death, and through his fall, revealed the humility that even great power must learn. Jonah fled from his calling, only to return through the depths of the sea, discovering that atonement begins when we stop running. And Tsukuyomi shattered harmony in a single irreversible act, teaching that some consequences cannot be undone, only understood. Each of these stories reminds us that guilt is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of transformation. What weighs on you that asks not to be erased, but to be faced? Humility transforms guilt into forward movement. I don't know if any of you have read it. I think it's by Ian McSomething, I believe. Could be totally wrong.
McNugget.
But it's called The Atonement. It's both a book and it's a movie. If you like Keira Knightley or James McAvoy or however you pronounce his last name, they're the main characters in it. Benedict Cumberbatch. Again, I don't know how to pronounce all these names. I do apologize. He's another actor that's in it. He does great, and he's a villain. He's disgusting. He does great, though. But regardless of the movie, which is very like Chef's Kiss, did so good to the book. And you can't say that a lot about these things, but that one I feel like did a very good job. But that I think is just one of the worst villains in any story I've ever read. Not the one that the guy plays, the little sister seeking her atonement.
Yeah.
Oh, the things she does because she does something that is an irreversible act. She sets things in motion, right? And then she tries to go atone for them years later. And I'm not going to say any more on it because I do want you to watch it. It's such powerful. It's a beautiful cinematic masterpiece, I think, and great acting, great storyline.
What is it called?
It's called Atonement. Yeah, you're going to be frustrated. But you see a lot of these dynamics of people crossing lines to where you're in it now. And some of them are big lies, some of them are actions, but you're in it. You've crossed that line, you cannot come back. And that book and that movie I'm bringing up because on top of these stories we see in that, you see just how many lives are affected by it. You see the people that get to prosper off of it, and you see the people that suffer. And it's just a beautiful reflection on how the things we say, the statements we claim of people, and the actions that we do, they do bear consequence. They do, because inevitably you're not going to make everyone happy.
No.
And a compromise means you're intentionally making everyone unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what I've learned about. You're not being released. You are not going anywhere. So you can keep scooting your butt into this blanket.
She looks so, she's like, but dad wants to pet me.
So she was screaming at me and then tried to rip my hair out. She was biting me. Then she went up there and knocked the camera down. What she's saying is that in order to atone, one must have actions to atone for. Don't follow the advice of kittens. I just want to send a sincere apology because I don't want to disrespect any kittens. I know how they get. I was trying to apologize. No, because you're looking to launch on your sister. All right, we're just going to keep going because this is just purgatory for me right now. You can be as mad at me as you want, but your actions have led you here, trapped in my arms. Anyways, with March 18th, I do recommend that movie. I do. If you're a reader, yes, read the book. Do both. I did both. I loved it. With the atonement, our theme is making amends, and our lesson of guilt transforms into humility. Unfortunately, sometimes we do not get to ever change our name, right? After these actions, sometimes we never have a chance because either something happens or we have to leave, whatever it may be. We don't get an opportunity to. But I truly, truly believe that if we continue down our path, eventually we will be given an opportunity to atone for that. And we'll either be given an opportunity or be given a not so happy opportunity where it's forced.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we saw with Jonah. But with all of that, your question of the day is, what does weigh on me? Like it says, our humility comes after guilt. I've told you before that guilt is one of the emotions I cannot stand to feel. Guilt and grief. What was it? Guilt. Yeah, grief was one of them, but guilt was the main one.
Yeah.
I do not like it.
Regret, I think, would be
and
like really up there.
And I
don't want to have that.
And I used to barely feel guilt for things that hadn't even happened yet, things that may never happen. I used to feel just a tiny bit and it would consume me. That used to be the thing that sent me on those like emotional benders, was usually guilt. And
Wow.
whether it was real or not, the chemistry with it, our minds are so
You
powerful.
think about
The
it.
chemistry in my body, it took over and it blinded me.
Wow.
And thankfully, I didn't cross these lines. And no, I'm not saying that like what Maui did or like some of these things are like, oh, well, if I didn't commit those crimes, I'm fine. No, I'm not comparing crimes or anything like that. I'm just saying I haven't done something that's irreversible. And I do really appreciate that because there have been times where, yes, my life would be very different.
Right.
And I was given more chances than I thought I deserved at the time. And deserved is probably not a word that we as humans can really, use.
Mm-hmm.
But got a lot more chances. But I remember that final straw. I was told if you don't figure it out, you're gonna be put away. Like, because I was getting into trouble. Not serious trouble, but just to where they were like, you are gonna continue to hurt yourself. You cannot be trusted by yourself. And it was literally that. Do you want to be an adult that cannot be trusted by themselves?
Right.
Right.
'Cause
And
that's what it
and it
is.
was like 19 years old.
Yeah. It's acting
And
a
it's
fool.
crazy because we're adults then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's wild to me. That's wild. Because all we've known is classrooms. And we already know those aren't realistic to the real world.
I think that's why we get so crazy in our younger teens and just make fools of ourselves and do dumb things. And we always wonder why were people getting married, and spinsters at 30. Well, because they grew up, like they lived what life was, what it had to be. Now, yes, now in this modern days, it's way different. We don't have to do that stuff. But I do think the way we are conformed is way off, and we could shift it a little bit and it would be more beneficial, but we'll see.
The activity is that you're going to write an apology you will never send, okay? But you're going to name what you regret plainly. It's not an over anything. And that's different based on who you are. But you're going to write an apology that you're never going to send and just explain what you regret. Okay? And then the final thought we're going to leave you with so that Molly can be spoken to outside is that humility transforms guilt into forward movement. That doesn't mean that we do something wrong and we live in that guilt forever.
Right.
We can have humility, and we as humans, we got to show humility sometimes. And that's why I wanted to tell you about the call I had today when I kind of faced my own my own humility and kind of humbled myself prior. But that's all that I have for you guys today with the atonement for March 18th. It's a little bit harder because to atone for something had to have been done beforehand. And like you said, you can pound a nail into a fence to help you suppress whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, and then you can pull them back out. But then you get to see just how powerful our actions and words are. Every little thing we do. Yeah, one nail hole may not be a big deal, but 100 are.
Yeah, it was every time he got angry or something.
Yeah, but yeah, that's all we have for the atonement. And tomorrow, guys, the next 3 days I was so excited for. I'm going to tell you, stay tuned. We have the vision tomorrow. So we have another people that can see visions or different ways to interpret them. I'm not going to tell you the 20th, but I'm going to tell you the samurai stuff comes finally on day 21. So we look at oaths and stuff.
Of course, it's day 21.
But stay with us so you can see the build up, because there will be some items before that you're really going to want to stick in for 3 days. Mm-hmm.
How do you do the number 3? 3?
That's how the guy gets caught on
3?
Inglorious Bastards or whatever it is, because
3.
he does this, and the German way is this. This is German 3. American, that's how he gets found out and he gets killed. They all die in that bar because he did this, and it let the person that was a Nazi know
That they weren't Nazis.
that they're spies because they're American. It's interesting.
Crazy.
I really like it. But anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you guys. Love you.